So I think we're about ready to start. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So I'm really delighted today to welcome Shayne Brandon. We first met a couple of years ago through Bernie Fisher, and I've been aware of his work through IIIF when he presented to our 3D community working group. And so I'm delighted to have him here today to talk about some things that we are also thinking about as a group. So I will just hand it over to Shayne and let him take it away.
Okay. Hey, I'm Shayne Brandon, and I work at the Institute for Advanced Technology and the Humanities at the University of Virginia. And I've been doing a lot of what you all are working on over the past, 15 years. And, not all photogrammetry and 3D modeling. Mostly my job is system administrator, where I manage the servers, set up websites, Drupal sites for other people to populate. But in doing all that, though, is when I started becoming interested in how to enable the visualization of 3D models and things like that. So, and this was before Sketchfab became popular. So, I'm going to show a little bit, but don't expect it to be as nice as Sketchfab is. But it does have its own uses. Okay, it is useful in some things. But today, what brought this topic in this talk on is I was asked to do a talk at a architectural landscape studies class. Okay, because I do a lot of work with the architecture school, and I help them with their field methods class. Because field methods there's landscape studies, there's cultural landscape, there's soundscape, there's all these different things that don't necessarily, involve 3D models and things like that, but they do involve going out and collecting information, teaching the students how to do drawings of architectural places, and they've got these HABS reports and all these things. So we set up, several Drupal sites for the class and teach the students how to get information into them. But I was asked to come do a talk on a preservation endeavor that we had done, and that is they were going to blow up the old basketball arena at UVA because they had replaced it with a much larger arena. And the ceiling was full of asbestos. It was not being used. It cost more to have it and keep it kept than it was worth. And so they decided it was time to blow it up. But in order to do that, it was a historical landmark, and the state wanted some documentation of it. And so they asked me if I could fly the quadcopter around and do some photogrammetry. And I said, sure. And then also we have a 360 camera. And so I did some 360 photos inside and some tours. And we did some laser scanning and things like that. So I will be showing some of that. But I was asked to come and talk about that process. But when I got there, we'd been talking about laser scanning and all that. And I really didn't want to continue on that path. So I decided, I asked if it was okay to not talk about photogrammetry that they had asked me to do, but instead, could I talk about something else? And so this is what I talked about, that this difference between preservation and presentation is pretty large, but it's something that people don't usually think about. And in particular, this case, the job was to go in and get preservation data of this arena, okay? And immediately the thought was laser scanning. And that irritated me because there's so much more to preservation than just, points. And in particular, what I don't like about laser scanners is the cameras are terrible for the most part. The coloring is not very good. Laser scanners, they usually leave large holes, circles where it don't point down. So there's a lot of things about laser that I don't like that, photogrammetry overcomes and just does a better job. But then there's also, sound, the sound of a basketball bouncing on the court. The sense that you get when you walk in the door, and the sense that the players might have had when they were going from the dressing room out onto the court, right? So there's all these other aspects of preservation that people don't think about. Now, suppose you do get all of this. Like we got lots of laser scan data, but what people don't realize is that from that point, there's not much more you can do with it because the laser scan data doesn't mesh very well without a lot of work. And suppose you do end up with a 1 billion point cloud. Well, not many computers will let you view it, right? Especially online, with a phone, unless you're doing something like using 3D hop with, whatever, when they break it down into smaller pieces. I can't even think of what it's called right now. But the point is that you end up with all this data that nobody can look at, nobody can see. It's not public at all, right? And that was one of the things that I wanted to point out, is that there's way more to this than just collecting data. You've got to think about what you want people to see, right? And a lot of times we'll use the same tools to do both. Okay, so some of the tools that I think that everyone should have when they're going to do something like some kind of site preservation is a laser scanner if you can afford it, because I'll show you that they can be very useful and give very good results. But a handheld camera for taking photos of people and photos around the site to give that natural atmosphere, the cultural landscape part of it. And an aerial camera for capturing the roofs, because a laser scanner, once it gets maybe 45 degrees or so up, it's not going to get that much detail, and it won't get the roofs at all. So using a quadcopter really helps complete the scene, the data set that you're getting with the laser scanner. A survey quality GPS is great for geolocating places, because the GPS in a quadcopter is terrible, just like the one in your phone is terrible. And it'll help get things kind of located, but you definitely can't count on it because it's not precise at all. And a 360-degree camera adds a lot of detail and very good photos that you can use in that cultural landscape type preservation. And then an audio recorder. Now, sometimes people don't think of that, but we went to one place, a site, where we did laser scanning and quadcopter, right? And I combined the two and made a full model, but in VR, it seemed like there was something missing. And what it was there was a stream. It's a sulfur spring that came up under one of the bathhouses and then traveled above ground into the other. And they had these big pools that they just constructed a bathhouse over. And it was this sulfur water that people would come and soak in. But it was the VR experience was missing the sound of that stream. And so my coworker, Will Rourke, who does the laser scanning, he ended up going back maybe 6 months later just to record that. And then they put it in the spatial audio into the VR version. of that, and it just made it much better. So you've all seen, or I'm guessing you've all seen this kind of laser scanner. And this is when we were scanning inside this basketball arena. But also, one of our computer science professors has a robot that he's programmed. It's got a low, I won't say low quality, but a laser scanner on it, or a few, that it won't go very far. It would go to the ceiling, so it will go a few hundred feet. But he would take this thing around, and while it's rolling around, it's collecting data points, and it's building a point cloud in real time. And so the more passes that he makes, it does corrections in real time as well. So that by the time he finished walking around the floor, he had a point cloud of the inside of this arena. Now, it's not going to be complete because he was just from the floor, and he might get the tops of the seats and things like that because he didn't go around the rows, but it did a pretty good job. And something else that he uses this one for is he has done some 3D laser scans of train tunnels that are a mile long, just by putting it in, starting it out, and the battery lasts long enough for it to go down to the end and come back. And so he's done some really good work using this on small structures like that it would be really difficult to do with a laser on a tripod. And then this is us flying our Inspire outside the place, the arena. And so what I did, come on, mouse. It's not too. Well, come on. I don't want to play there. Stop it. Let me do this one. That's not, funny thing is, that's not showing up on my, oh, and that's over here now. Oh, wait. I've got to, come on. Let me drag this over here. Yeah. So I was using the 360 camera to record us flying the quadcopter, and to document our process of documenting this building before they blew it up. So that's what we're doing here. We're using the 360 camera to film us flying the quadcopter and taking photos of that thing, so that I could show, we were working, and it was a team of us out here. So here's the Insta360 Pro that I like to use, and this is Will using it's the MLID Reach GPS units. Now, what these do, if you get two, let's see if I can get this here, just to show you the website of the company here. Come on, there we go. There we go. So it's just like an $800 unit, but if you get two, what happens is one is used as a base, and then the other one is a roving unit that talks to it. And so what you set one up, it uses the GLONASS and all the error corrections networks. And then you can walk around with the other one just on your survey pole, and it's talking to the base, and they communicate the correction information back and forth. So it's very accurate. It's survey quality. And so this is at the Villa La Rotonda in Italy that we use this, and we just walk down the road all around the property, and I would take pictures with my cell phone just of where we were getting these readings, just because when you're done, you can see all the points on a Google map, but you wouldn't really remember, that you'd put it in that particular corner or something like that. So come back over here. Now, so here's some of the results of the laser scan of the arena, and you can see kind of what one of my complaints is it's not that great. I don't like it at all. And then you can see where the laser scanner was because of the big round spot of no data. And here's another, and you can see that that's where one was, but some of the points were collected from a different position. And there. And then, so here's my photogrammetry version, which I didn't like that either. Okay. I was very unhappy with this. And this was after thousands of photos. And it's not like I couldn't really go back. I think I went for 4 or 5 days trying to take different kinds of data. I would take photos for photogrammetry for a while, and then I would go into the presentation mode and walk around with the 360 camera and take photos with that, and then maybe pick up the Nikon DSLR again and take some presentation type photos for that. But I had to keep going back and forth between the preservation mode that I was in and presentation mode. And that's something that I'm trying to point out, is that you have to really think about which one you're doing, and set up your camera for that. Set up, you have to be in that mindset completely. And sometimes it means switching back and forth, even though you're using the same tools. So yeah, that's more photogrammetry that I'm not happy with at all. But then I'm using reality capture. Here's, I finally managed to find a good set of photos that meshed well with the laser scan photos. And this is the result of using reality capture to combine the two. And I think that's beautiful, because like I said, the laser scanner, I don't think the cameras aren't that good. The color's not that good. And even though the laser might be able to pick up a point 1,000 feet away, the photo from the camera is so bad that if you're trying to select very small points for when you do the registration, it's difficult to do because the photo's not clear enough to do it. So since I had some nice photos of the floor, that's how I think it's a really nice color that the laser scanner just didn't get on its own. So here's the Villa La Rotunda that we went to in Italy. We used the laser to do about 140 scans that I registered here. And even though I do like laser scan for trees, vegetation, things like that, and I did have to use the quadcopter to get the roof, which I haven't started to try to apply yet to this. But, oh, come on. So I'll show you some examples of what I like to do with the vegetation, because this is it's a forest over there on the right, and then several trees on the left that go down to the road. Vegetation meshes terribly. So you'll see what I like to do with that. So now we'll talk about the presentation of all this material, right, that we've gathered. So, one of the first things that we've got are the 3D models. And let's see, this is gonna, I'll have to drag it over again. So this is using the 3D hop that I like to use. It's a WebGL library. But this is a house that I did at the University of Virginia that has since they've cut down a lot of the trees and they put a fence around it because people were kind of breaking into it. Nobody was living there or anything. But you can see that there are a lot of trees and things around it. So one of the things I like about using the 3D hop is, we can do things like this. And so this is mesh here, and then these are points. And I like to do that with the laser scan data. Use the point cloud from the laser, but combine it with the mesh from photogrammetry. All right, let me do another one here. This is the one that, oh, come on. Let me do it again. Oh, there we go. So this is the bathhouse that I was talking about. There's a women's and a men's, and then the sulfur spring starts underneath this one and then runs down through here and goes through there. And they condemned the buildings because they were kind of falling apart because of all the dampness. And so you're not allowed to go in, but what people still do is they'll come and park, and then they'll get in the stream and just lay and kind of bathe in it. But this is another combination of laser scan data with photogrammetry. So that's why we have the nice roof and the nice color of the ground, things like that. But also I left the vegetation there from the laser. So if you don't want to see that, then you can turn it off. So, all right, then let's see. Come on. Oh. So this is the university, the arena that I showed you the mesh of, those photographs. And this is just a point cloud version of that. And the reason I chose the point cloud version is because if you start out with a mesh, then it clips, it's really hard to get the camera out of the mesh. And if you do even, then it looks something like this. So at least with the point cloud, you can kind of see the floor and things like that through the points of the roof. So that's why I chose to use the point cloud version of the model. All right, let's see. Come on over here. Okay, now this is one that I'll talk a little bit more about. Come on. But this is the original bell from the rotunda when Thomas Jefferson was there. And so they've still got it there in the lower level of the rotunda. And I did this with photogrammetry. And the reason why I did it is interesting. We're doing models of the lawn and pavilions and the rotunda back when Thomas Jefferson was alive and was designing these buildings. And we're doing this in 3D Studio Max. So for the rotunda, my coworker, Lauren, mentioned to me she was going to go over and take a picture of the bell, and she was going to try to model it in 3D Studio Max. So and she was just going to try to model it and color it and things like that based on a picture. And so I said, well, let me make a model of it. And that's what I did. So I went over and took a few hundred photos and made this model. So the reason for the model, though, was not to preserve it, right? It's still there. Nobody asked to have it preserved. So in this case, the whole reason for making a 3D model of this bell was for a presentation purpose. So it's okay to do this kind of, all the work that's involved in doing something for preservation, but not do it for preservation, okay? Because we didn't want the detail. We don't care, I don't care how off the measurements are. I don't care if it's accurate at all. because what we wanted to be accurate was the color, okay? And the whole purpose for doing this was for the color. And what Lauren did is something that Mohammed's good at, and that is she unwrapped the texture from the model that I created, and she sliced the model like that, somewhere around there, and traced it using a real simple shape in 3D Studio Max, and then reapplied this texture to it. And I'll show you some pictures of that here in a little bit. Now, okay, now, oh wait, this ain't the one. Hold on. I need to do something. I want to get, oh wait, there we go. I had one open already. Oh, there we go. Let me pull this one over. It doesn't work in Chrome. Chrome changed something about their audio and video codecs recently, and it won't play some MP4 videos anymore, and it won't play the audio that kind of goes along with this. So this is a scan from a piece of art in the museum. Now, the original is a piece of wood. It's a carving, and it's just called Cherub. So not only did I just want to put this in a viewer, okay, because I've been working with 3D Hop, and I've made all of these viewers myself. And what I did was I came up with something that I liked and put it in a Drupal content node. And so now, whenever I want to view a model, I just upload the PLY or the Nexus format version of the model, and instantly I've got a viewer with all the little icons that I want to have, because I made my little Drupal content have checkboxes for which icons you want to show up. And so for this particular one, I added a couple more because I wanted to do more with this. And the reason why is the carving is a very small piece, about this tall. And when you look at it, it looks like this, right? It's just kind of brown with a couple of little light spots. But I noticed that when I was holding it, they passed it around, and when I was holding it, I kept rubbing a spot for some reason, and I didn't know why. And then later on, I realized what it was, and so I said, I've got to modify this viewer so that so I can show this. And I really wanted to get a 3D print done before I came, and I couldn't. They didn't have time to do it. But this particular spot right here, this kind of a light brown, your eyes, because of the color, your eyes kind of are deceptive and fill in spots and things like that. So the first thing I decided is we want to remove color sometimes so that we can get a better view of something without our eyes interfering and our brain telling us different things. And so you can see there that there's a little scratch in the wood, and that's what I was feeling without realizing what it was that I was feeling. And so just being able to turn the color on and off helps to see that kind of imperfection that when you're holding it, nobody even noticed it when they passed it around, right? And so I did a talk where I showed that by turning off the color, then all of a sudden you kind of see what it was that you felt but didn't really know what you were feeling. And then in addition to that, I decided that I wanted to demonstrate one more thing. It's this one, right, this. And that is, I don't want the light on. And that is, sometimes you want to make a model interactive, okay? And that might be, you click on something and a text box pops up. It takes you to a website, annotation, like annotations in Sketchfab. But in this case, I decided, well, I didn't know anything about this. And what do you do when you don't know anything about something you're talking about? Well, you make it up, right? And so I went and got my daughter out of bed. And I said, I need you to help me with something. And we sat down and wrote a script together. And then I let her do the talking.
My brother picked these flowers for me when we were playing in the meadow.
And so, you know,
One day I was picking berries and I was attacked by a wolf. I still have a scar on my cheek.
And then this one here.
My father says that my hair is wavy because I came from the sea.
So, you know, we took this piece of art and then we made it so that you could study it and analyze it in different ways. But then also I said, well, we should be able to do more with these things. And that's when I decided to kind of transform it into something else that's maybe not research or educational, but something else entirely. And so that was my first attempt at trying to do something artistic with another piece of art. And so again, I'm using 3D Hop to do this. And 3D Hop is just a JavaScript library, and it uses WebGL libraries to show the models, the meshes, the points, the combination. And what this actually is this is actually a model, but it's 4 different meshes. So since 3D Hop allows you to add different meshes and point clouds into the scene, and it draws all of them, what I did was I just created smaller versions of this model, and that's the highlighted meshes, because that's what when I told it to when you click this, I said highlight these 3 meshes, and these are just smaller meshes than the whole. And so that when you click on each mesh, I have a little JavaScript command that says if you click this mesh, play this sound and put that text at the bottom. So that's something else that you can do with your 3D models, right? It doesn't have to be just spin and rotate. That's the point. Is, you know, you can, anything you can imagine having people to see when they interact with these things, you can do, right? It just takes a little work, takes a little JavaScript if you're doing it with 3D Hop and WebGL, but it's easy. If I can do it, I know anybody else can that knows what they're doing, because I don't. Back over here. Okay, and then let's see. I just wanted to show a couple of Sketchfab examples, just because I do like Sketchfab. It's just, it's not right for the things that I do. Come on, where's the mouse? There he is. So, and I know you all know about Sketchfab because you've been putting stuff in there. And I don't know if you all know Mohammed here, but he's done some fantastic work. And so I was going to show a couple of yours to show some of the things that, examples of some things that you can do in Sketchfab. So one of the things I liked about this one is just it's a good example of, you know, changing views by clicking on these different things and jumping in. Oh, come on. There we go. And here's another one. Come on. There we go. I don't remember which one is the so you can apparently do animations with your models in Sketchfab, which I didn't know. But it's very good stuff. Okay, so so far this is all just talking about how to things or ways that you can present 3D models to people, the public. Now we've got the 360-degree photos. So there's one, and you all know, since you all do a lot of 360-degree photography, I won't bore you with that, but let's see. Come on. So well, let's see. I wanted to show what happens. What I like to do anyway is when we're doing the preservation type photos, this is pretty much how they look, right? Just you try to pick a good view of whatever it is, and you really like it to kind of be free from obstruction. But sometimes we want, obstructions, such as people. And so that was a preservation type 360 photo there. But we were allowed to go out one morning. They gave us, me and one of my coworkers, permission, and the owner joined us. That was a very special occasion because they've never let anybody else go. And they had even told us a few times that we couldn't go that early, but the owner decided to join us this morning, this particular day. And so back thinking about where to place the camera, I managed to do something like, we've got the architecture in the photo, which is generally what you want in a preservation type photo. But then also, we've got a couple of people. One of them happens to be the owner of the villa, and they're here it's maybe 10 minutes after 7 in the morning, and sun's rising over here, just coming up over the horizon, then being blocked by the fog, and they're just admiring the beauty of the architecture there. And so this was an emotional time because the owner had not been there for sunrise, and I think he maybe 30 years. And so it was kind of emotional for him to be reflecting on when he used to do that when he was younger, a child. And then also it was just a beautiful time for us. One of the things that they like to point out about the villa is that only in the morning during sunrise is the stucco, this color. The rest of the day it's a kind of a whitish color, but at this time in the morning it's a kind of a golden, a beautiful color. Let's see what else we got. Okay, that was it for that. All right, so we got that. Now, there are a couple of other things that we can do. So we got this right here. Oh. Yeah. Is it going to show me the whole thing? I don't guess. Let me see if I can make this window bigger real quick. It's not showing me the whole. Okay, there we go. I'll pull it back. There we go. Oh, still, I made it shorter. Come on. Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. Wonder why it did it like that. But so here we've taken a 360-degree photo with the Insta 360, and that's what this one here is. And then we've got a virtual 360 panorama from the model, and we overlay to show, how it used to look when Thomas Jefferson was doing that, and then how it looks today. let's see. Come on back over here. Let me see about doing a second one. Okay, there we go. I may have to do the same. Okay. Yes, and here's a very similar. This one here, this is how the pavilion is today. But then it was much smaller. And so with this, the stairway came down to a door that immediately you were outside if you came down too fast. So that's how, so the hallway's still there, but they've moved the stairway and now it's no longer outside. So that's how we use the Insta360 to take, we take photographs of things, how they are now, and combine them with 3D models. And we used, this is again JavaScript, and this is a Drupal content type that I created too, where, I can upload any two photos, any two equirectangular photos, I'll say, and immediately be able to do this with them. And then, so here's another one. Come on, get over there, mouse. There we go. What's it gonna do? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. All right, I put it back over here. So here's something else to do with presentation. So this is just a regular 360 photo, a preservation type photo of the courtyard of this villa. Okay. Now, I'd become friends with the owner of this villa, and she invited me to come over one morning, and told the custodian to open every door and let me just have free reign of the place, which is awesome. And so I did some of these kind of photos since I was the only one there and there were no visitors, but it was kind of empty. And so one of the things that I did was I took this photo, but then I left the camera there and I asked the custodian if he would sit and just sit like he normally does, okay? And that's what he did. So what he likes to do is sit on that bench and just kind of look out over the courtyard. But this is not so much in a way it is a preservation type photo, because it's showing how he uses this space, right? How the people that live here use this space. And so when we're out trying to collect data, sometimes it's not just the data of the building or the architecture or the space that you want. Sometimes it's how people use the space. And that's something that you should keep in mind as well when you're out doing this is, do you want just empty space? Or do you really want to see how it was used and kind of document that? So, taking a cell phone and interviewing people, talking to them and recording them also is very good information that can be used later when you're trying to present this to the public. Okay, and then this one was interesting. So we've got this Insta360 on a bunch of PVC pipe because, we needed it to be about 25 feet up, right? You could use a quadcopter, but the Insta360 is a really good camera. The photo is a lot better than it would have been from using a quadcopter at the same height. But you would wonder why would we want to do something like that? And so here's the photo that we actually took with it up on the pole, which worked out great, by the way. Come on, where are you? I didn't do it though. somewhere. Ah, there we go. It was in the background. So yeah, that's the photo from up on that pole. And of course, there's the guy. Now, to edit these photos, so I don't like to be in the photos, right? And especially if something like that, when I was holding the pole, I had, my head and things like that, and I didn't like it. So I use a Affinity Photo, and it's easy to edit these 360 photos. And the new version of Photoshop does it as well. You can put it in live view, and what that does is it'll put it in the equirectangular perspective, and then you can kind of move around with it just like this, and you get it up to a flat area, because mostly what you'll see in the view has been flattened, and then you can use your patch or healing tool and all those things. And then after you've done your edits, you can take it back out of the live perspective, and it puts it back out, as a distorted photo that's ready to save at that point. But you can just do that over and over. And so what I'll do is, I'll come out here and select a patch of grass like that, and then put it over me. Instead of having the little nadir or nadir logos that people usually put, I prefer to just take a little more time to edit myself out or some other person. So what did we do with this actually? And so that's this here. So there's the photo that we just looked at. Come on over here, mouse. And so it turns out that we were working on for Colonial Williamsburg, we were working on a model of this theater that doesn't exist anymore. That's why we were out in a parking lot, because there used to be a building there, and it burned down, and they never rebuilt it. So we're not really reconstructing, but we are trying to compare what used to be there with something that you can't even imagine at this point, right? And so that's why we had that camera up on the pole, because this is a view. If you were in the upper balcony of this theater, this is where you would be sitting up here, and the stage down there, and then you can't even hardly see the little seating area here. But yeah, you would be roughly 25 feet up in the air from the floor. And so we knew that, and that's how we knew how high to place the camera. And so that's why we did that. And that's only purely for the purpose of trying to give people an idea of where the theater was, how high you were sitting when you were up in the upper balcony. And it would have been nice to have some bit of structure to go up into and take the 360 photos like we normally do, but it just wasn't possible in this case. But it was an interesting thing to do, because we had absolutely nothing to go by. We had measurements from the models, and we had a good idea of where it used to be, and so we just had to kind of go from there. Now, so we've talked a little bit about tours in the past, not what we've been talking, but so here's something else that I did for fun, right? Because I like 360-degree photography, but I was thinking, well, what else can we do with that? And well, it turns out we can do some nice things with green screens. I bet it's back in the background again. Oh, here we go. Oh, let me. Come on. There's a. So this is again with the Insta360. There's me controlling it, and this is Stephanie on her little green screen. Okay, so now using software like newer versions of Premiere, things, Power Director. I like CyberLink's Power Director. it lets you do things with 360-degree video. Well, something you can do is mask out areas. And so I use that feature to mask out everything but the green screen. And then I was able to use the chroma key feature to do something like this. Come on, give me your mouse. Where's my mouse? There he is. So here's Stephanie and Colonial Williamsburg in that same field, right? Where with taking those 360 photographs. And I just used one of those to put her there. Okay, and then I put the same video in one of those pavilion models that I showed earlier. And then one more, she's in one of the things. Now, here what I did was I wanted to demonstrate doing the same kind of slider thing in the video. So just as I did the slider to go back and forth between the 360 photo of now and the virtual 360 photo, I just did it in the video editing software, transitioned out of it, and then transitioned back in, and then had the chroma key green screen going at the same time. So that's just some fun things that you can do to make tours. You know, you can take a photo of something and then have somebody talk, maybe move around the whole scene if you're recording with a 360 camera. And then you could even add, you know, pieces of model or things like that that you've got. You could add that into the video, transition it in, transition it back out. All right, let's see. Come on. I guess I'll quit that. Come here. And she had no idea I was going to do all of that with her. Oh, come on. Okay, so, oh, come on, come back over. There we go. So this is Stephanie again, and this is one of the, I don't know how to turn the volume up. Oh, it's not letting me do it. Come on. It's not letting me go through the. Oh, that one. Oh, must be doing something else. It's not letting me rotate it around for some reason. Huh. Okay. And then this is more like the tour that you all use. What's it called? Well, maybe. And then the real estate one. Mm-hmm. So again, you know, I was out there with the quadcopter taking photos of the roof for 3D modeling. But I brought everything, right? I brought the DSLR, I brought the Insta360. We had 2 quadcopters and GPS units, okay? So I was just constantly going back and forth, changing the tool that I was using. And in this particular example, what we wanted to capture is not so much the building, but the experience of coming in, okay, for a ball game. And so, you know, we did that. And then with this kind of tour, this is and this is free software. This is Marzipano, and it's a web browser based, all local. You add images, you set up your little hotspots, things to jump to, all that. And then in the end, you can generate a bunch of, it's a lot of JavaScript and HTML and then all your tiled images. It'll generate it to a zip file and you save it, and it's ready to upload to your own server. So, you know, we're just wanted to capture that experience of coming in, going through the door, coming in, you know, right here on the other side of the door. Because there was asbestos, I only had 5 days to do all of this, okay? And I would come in. I was the only one here because they, only a couple of us, I guess, didn't mind breathing asbestos. And so they would board the doors up, lock them, and have even tape so that the asbestos couldn't leave. So yeah, we were trapped with it completely. And I spent 5 days doing this. I took 150 of these 360-degree photos for different reasons. Some were preservation, but then some also, so normally when I'm doing a 360 photo, I like the camera to be up a little high, about eye level for me, and maybe a little higher. But so I took, I don't know, maybe 80 or 90 like that, all of it, up and down the steps, just constantly. But then I went back again, I started over. But this time I sat down in a seat and I put the camera at the level that I see when I'm sitting down, which was maybe this high. And then I did it all again. But the reason being is that when someone's sitting, they'll have a different memory of what they saw than if they're standing up. And sometimes it's not perfect. Sometimes it's not something that you would like to show. Like when they're sitting down here on the first row, you know, sitting down there and they've got this wall up to, you know, right here. Well, that's real. That's reality. And so I went around again just trying to capture that, because that was some people's reality. And so I got just an equal number of those low camera positions for that reason, right? Because I wanted, so in these tours and things that I've uploaded to the website, I wanted all this to be as appealing to as many people as possible, right? I wanted it to evoke memories from all kinds of people, and because not everyone was standing. But then also I wanted to give people an idea of what it would be like out here, because not everyone could come out on the court, right? And sometimes, you know, people would be sitting close like this, but then sometimes they would be, you know, way up here. And then also, let's see, nobody ever got to go up here. But since I was in here by myself, there was no one to say I couldn't do it. So I did. So I went up in the roof, the ceiling, where the scoreboard electronics and stuff like that were. I took some video as well, 360 video. But see, it's a beautiful view up there, and then, you know, down here, and then, you know, so you can jump from up here to down here just by clicking that. And then where was oh, there we go. Oh, come on, here. And then you had what the, you know, the commentators and stuff. I wanted to kind of get a view of from their perspective. And so I went up there and, you know, put the camera there in the window and did that. So anyway, the point of this is this is free. This is Marzipano, and it didn't take me that long, to maybe an hour to put this together. It took longer to choose the photos that I wanted to be in it, right? Since I had 150. It took longer to do that than it did to put this tour together. And then let's see. Oh, I'll show this. I won't show the roof. It's just the roof spinning, but it was a video I did with the quadcopter. Now, so when I was there, again, I was doing all this preservation work, which in most people's mind was laser scanning. And so to do what I wanted to do, I would get up at 6:30 in the morning, take the quadcopter down to the road. I wasn't allowed on the property, as I said. So I would fly the quadcopter from the road, but I was capturing this just beautiful video and photographs. And I would do that until the sun came up over the fog, which was usually around 7:30. And then I would go back. I would carry all my equipment back to the house. We would have breakfast. Then we would come back again, right? But this time, coming back, we were in preservation mode, laser scanning, flying the quadcopter to get the roofs of the buildings and statues on the top of the house. We were getting GPS coordinates. Oh man, it was just so much, so much work that to do things like this, I had to go off schedule and I had to take the time to do it. And that's something that I want to really stress, for people that are talking about doing preservation, right? And I know you all are. And what I really want to stress, though, is that there's just so much more that you can do other than capturing data, okay, with a laser or a quadcopter. There's more than 3D models. You've got video, you've got audio over stream, you've got just beautiful photographs. You take pictures with people in it, okay. And that, to me, that's what preservation is about, site preservation, cultural heritage. And I've just been feeling disappointed because I don't see it that much anymore, or I don't know that I ever have, actually. But it's something that I do want people to be aware of and thoughtful of when they're going out and doing, whether it's cultural landscapes, landscape studies, soundscapes, any kind of architecture preservation. Just, I don't know. I think that there's too much emphasis on collecting data, right? And not enough thought put into some of the things that would make it presentable and make people want to come and visit the site that you're trying to preserve. Because so far, what I've seen, my experience, is that all these sites that have been preserved with a laser scanner, they're not accessible, okay? SciArc claims to, archive all these laser scans and things, but they're not registering the scans. So you don't see it. How do you see it, right? Unless you somehow get it and do all the work yourself, which nobody seems to be doing. I see so much scanning, right? I see so much scanning, collecting data, and then people go from one to the next and to the next, but they never finish any of it. And that's my big criticism of where site preservation and cultural heritage seems to be right now. But anyway, thank you. We can talk if you like. I don't know. Nobody seems to be wanting to run us out and make us leave. But yeah, we can talk about anything.